Ave Maris Stella.
Hello and welcome back to Vatican II in a Year. This is your host, Father Matthew Schneider. I am a priest of the Legionaries of Christ and a theology professor. This is a podcast on the Star Quest Production Network at sqpn.com. Today, we're on day 181, and we're covering Gravissimum Educationes 11 to 12, and this is on the sacred sciences and a conclusion to the document. If you want to follow along, we have a reading plan and more details at sqpn.com/Vatican or frmatthewlc.com/Vatican. Yesterday, we spoke about how the Church is committed to good research in higher ed, theology in all colleges, college open to all, and chaplaincies in non-Catholic colleges. Today, we'll have the titles in the two separate texts because each paragraph has a different title. The summary is the Church cares about the sacred sciences, which would be 11, and she wants all to work together for better education, which would be 12. So, moving straight into paragraph 11, which is on faculties of sacred sciences. Now, here, you might think sacred sciences, what does that mean? Do we have like sacred biology or something like that? No, what this refers to is ecclesiastical degrees. So there are degrees that are civil and the degrees that are ecclesiastical. And sometimes you can get a degree in either one, and there's slight different requirements for it. They're generally about the same. Like if you look at my name, I never put PhD after my name because I don't have a PhD. I have what's called a sacred theology doctorate. Well, how does that happen? Well, I went through the ecclesiastical route. I did my bachelor's degree, then I did a master's divinity / sacred theology bachelor, which is the standard priest degree. It's kind of a grad degree because you have to have a bachelor's first. And then I did a license in theology, which was another 2 years. And then I did a doctorate in theology, which took me 3 years, which is about average. So those are the kinds of things that we have as sacred sciences. And this is obviously for seminaries, also for, so obviously philosophy and theology, but also sciences like canon law, things like sacred scripture, patristics, or subfields once you get to in there, right? So like my doctoral degree is moral theology, even though I can also like teach dogmatic and some other theology. I'm not the sacred scripture guy because my Greek is kind of rusty and I took a grad total of 1 semester of Hebrew, so don't ask me to read the Hebrew in the Old Testament. So the summary of this paragraph is that the Church takes sacred sciences seriously and wants to ensure they are done well. So let's read it. The Church expects much from the zealous endeavors of the faculties of sacred sciences. For to them she entrusts the very serious responsibility of preparing her own, not only for priestly ministry, but especially for teaching in the seats of higher ecclesiastical studies, or for promoting learning in their own, or for undertaking the work of a more rigorous intellectual apostolate. Likewise, it is the role of these very faculties to make more penetrating inquiry into the various aspects of the sacred sciences, so that an ever-deepening understanding of sacred revelation is obtained, the legacy of Christian wisdom handed down by our forefathers is more fully developed, the dialogue with our separated brethren and with non-Christians is fostered, and the answer given to questions arising in the development of doctrine. B. Therefore, ecclesiastical faculties should reappraise their own laws, so that they can better promote the sacred sciences and those linked with them, and, by employing up-to-date methods and aids, lead their students to more penetrating inquiry. We want to take these sciences seriously. We should be zealous for them. We should treat them with the same seriousness you treat another degree, because especially when teaching theology, teaching seminarians, salvation of souls depends on this. When I'm teaching engineering, no, the salvation of souls doesn't depend on my engineering. Somebody's safety might. I guess, I was taking computer engineering, so it's unlikely even like life or death safety is involved as much as like civil engineering, which my mom took, and things like that, right? And so we should have that same importance. And it's important for training clergy, this is what we do, but also for training all these different theologians who are going to teach, so all the different ones who go out and teach. And today, most Catholic theology professors in not seminaries like normal, quote unquote, normal Catholic colleges do have ecclesiastical theology degrees, have PhDs in theology, not STHDs. They usually drop the H there in most other languages, but in English you just make sure it's THD with a small h because the other 3-letter acronym means something else that we don't want to associate with ourselves. And we need to go beyond this. They need to go deep. We shouldn't just go to the base. We shouldn't just be repeating the same thing over and over again. Now, obviously, if I'm teaching the same class every year, it's going to be similar things. But what kind of research am I doing? This is kind of like telling me, because this is my, like, along with being a priest, I'm a theology professor, which I announce every time. That's what I teach. I teach seminary. So how do I do peer-reviewed research? How do I do good research? How do I develop doctrine, right? Because doctrine, our understanding, is going to be developed through this kind of research. Like for moral theology, a great thing is how do we apply morals that we already have to new technologies, to new social situations based on those technologies? That's something we have to discuss as moral theologians. We have to think through. We can't just be like, oh, whatever, we never thought about AI, so don't need to. No, we need to think about AI and think about what we can do with it, right? That's the kind of peer-reviewed research we should be doing. That's why, like, I know I've noted it before, mine is on privacy and those kind of questions, which I think is somewhere the church needs to develop more teaching in. And then ultimately look at the different rules in the different institutions. Make sure we have good pedagogy. Make sure we go deep in inquiring. Don't just have like the seminaries memorize stuff, but have them understand and go deep, be able to read the literature, to be able to go deep in that literature. So paragraph 12 is on the coordination to be fostered in scholastic matters. And the summary, it's in two parts. Summary of 12a is all need to cooperate, and B is the conclusion, all should be motivated to education. There is like another title in the conclusion, but there's no new number for the paragraph, so it's part like 12b. So let's read 12a. Cooperation is the order of the day. It increases more and more to supply the demand on diocesan, national, and international levels. Since it's altogether necessary in scholastic matters, even every means should be employed to foster suitable cooperation between Catholic schools and between those and other schools that collaboration should be developed, which the good of mankind requires. From greater coordination, cooperation, endeavor, greater fruits will be derived, particularly in the area of academic institutions. Therefore, in every university, let various faculties work mutually to this end insofar as their goal will permit. In addition, let universities also endeavor to work together by promoting international gatherings, by sharing scientific inquiries with each other, by communicating their discoveries to one another, by having an exchange of professors for a time, and by promoting all else that is conducive to greater assistance. We need this wider cooperation in education between the schools and between various schools, between various school boards, between different higher ed and things like that, right? And they have this whole section of universities. And so often, each faculty in the university can be very siloed. You can have no idea what's going on across the university. And especially in a Catholic university, you want to make sure that everything follows a good Catholic theology. And then we want to that productive exchange between colleges. We need this productive exchange between all the colleges so they all work better. It's good when we have Catholic universities meeting together to think of different topics, to talk about how they express their Catholic identity. All those types of things are good. So moving on to the conclusion, 12b, it has a little title conclusion there. And the summary is all should be motivated to education. It talks about the young people and it talks about everyone else who's involved in education. So let's read it. The Sacred Synod earnestly entreats young people themselves to become aware of the importance of the work of education and to prepare themselves to take it up, especially where because of shortage of teachers in education, it is in jeopardy. This same Sacred Synod, while professing its gratitude to priests, religious men and women, and the laity who by their evangelical self-dedication are devoted to the noble work of education in the schools of every type and level, exhorts them to persevere generously in the work they have undertaken, and imbuing their students with the Spirit of Christ to strive to excel in pedagogy and the pursuit of knowledge, in such a way that they not merely advance the international renewal of the Church, but preserve and enhance the beneficent influence upon today's world, especially in the intellectual world. So that first sentence, right, we need young people to be motivated. They need to take on their own education and not just kind of be passive listening there to receive from professors and things like that. But all of us who are in the education field, like priests, religious, laity, people who are working in various things, teachers, principals, administrators, all those types of things, we all need to be motivated. We all need to take on our different roles, be motivated to provide the best education we can in the various ways that we can. So thank you for listening to this episode of Vatican II in a Year. This is a listener-supported podcast. You can donate to help StarQuest produce it and other great podcasts at sqpn.com/give. You can give one-time monthly or join the StarQuest Patreon. Tomorrow we're going to start on Nostra Aetate, the document on other religions. We're going to interview with an expert. I haven't scheduled it, but I haven't recorded it, so I'm not going to name the person in case it doesn't work out. Please join us then to learn more about Vatican II, which will provide a blueprint for the Catholic Church. If you want more information on the podcast, such as playlists on individual documents and a reading plan, go to sqpn.com/Vatican, frmatthewlc.com/Vatican, or Vatican SQPN on Facebook and X.
Amen.